Greetings and salutations. It's Dave Duford here at davidduford.com, where I help mentor, coach, and train insurance agents to become top producers. And today I am joined by Mr. Jerry Moore at Ad Assassin. Say hello today, Jerry.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Jerry is the El Jefe of Facebook lead generation, and he's here today to kind of give me and you guys an overview of the current state of affairs when it comes to generating final expense insurance leads on Facebook. So I've prepared a selection of questions to ask, kind of open-ended here. So we're going to kind of go in different directions, all with the goal of helping you identify the basics of what Facebook marketing is all about, how to do it effectively, and kind of what to look out for as well, the pitfalls, the traps, as well as how to prepare for what the future brings, as well as how to do it effectively. So thank you, Jerry, for joining me. So let's start with the basics. So a lot of people watching this obviously know that there's marketing on Facebook, probably have bought or considered buying Facebook leads. How do you do it yourself?
Yeah, so my game is actually like a little different, I guess, than most when you say like lead vendors. So what I do is I'm really in the coaching side of helping agents. So on my side, what we do is we kind of bring on clients and run them through the process. But our process is very simple. And it's been very effective for us for a while now. Is straight lead generation campaigns on Facebook. So we're looking into some other stuff with landing pages and things like that. But we like to keep it pretty simple because, again, on the agent side, this is not their job, right? They're not a marketer. They are an agent that needs leads, and that avenue to get leads is Facebook. So we like to try to keep the process simple, and lead generation is a very simplistic way to do that.
So you teach agents, you coach them how to basically become a lead generator themselves and cut out the middleman, more or less, is what you're saying, right?
Yep. And it's great that way because, they can kind of, they control what's happening. They can see what's happening on the ad copy side, on the picture side, what's happening in automation after the lead is generated, and just really keep the quality to their standards and really have that conversation with the person that matches what they saw on the ad copy. When the person reads something on an ad copy, the conversation that occurs next should match what the advertisement, to really create that congruency, which is really important.
One of the things, and I'll be upfront with you, I never really looked seriously at Facebook marketing, at least for final expense, until this year, because all of the vendors that I had seen up till recently, just to me, the quality of the leads was always dubious. You would run into circumstances where people were adamantly swearing they never requested information.
Yep.
And I'm kind of curious if you can kind of build on this as to why, maybe along that route, if you will, why doing it yourself can have some advantages over outsourcing it to somebody else to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, kind of like I was saying before, controlling that lead the ad copy and the process behind it is obviously really important because you can be then transparent with them and not be deceiving. And again, matching what you're saying to the advertisement is very helpful. Now, I want to be honest with you guys because that's what I'm here to do. Even when we do lead generation campaigns and we do very transparent ads, you still get those people. You don't rid of them completely, but obviously the percentages increase. And you have to remember that the people that are opting into these advertisements, a lot of time, they are seeing a lot of these advertisements. So when they see a very deceptive advertisement and then they opt into your advertisement, maybe they're recalling the deceptive advertisement or something else that they opted into. So that's when the kind of the automation process on the back end also really, really helps make them understand that, hey, my name is Jerry and I'm from Jerry's insurance company and you opted in my ad, let's talk. And then that's one thing that we're really working on, continuing to keep those leads warm.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about that. It's interesting you brought that up because this is not just getting a lead like direct mail and then showing up. There's the potential, at least, to do a lot more behind the scenes after the lead is procured. Can you kind of expand on what you can do with a Facebook generated lead in an automated sense to help enhance your abilities to get in front of the prospect and make the sale?
Yeah, totally. There's a ton of things you can do. And the software that's coming out too, what's really great about the software that we're using, and that I'm particularly using, but that's available, it makes this stuff so that any person can do it. You don't need to hire a tech guy or a guy like me to send out text message strings. Like, you need to spend an hour on YouTube and an hour on the software, and all of a sudden you got it figured out. That's what's really great about it. But the text messaging is definitely huge. Email, we do auto emails as well, but again, the open rates are just horrendous.
Yeah.
And you can schedule them appointments. That goes okay. Not as good as you would like as well, even when automated reminders are set up for the appointment, like, hey, don't forget you schedule this appointment. Those are the big ones though. But where really comes into play again is the immediate effect. They opt into it, and it's like, boom, hey, it's Jerry. You just opted into this. Let's talk, and then get them on the phone. That's where it becomes really, really powerful on the front end. And on the long end is when you can send them text messages or emails for a year or 2 years and just let the machine take over. And if you're converting at 1% of those into calls, at the end of the year, that's a lot of calls that you've converted. So, there's that capability too.
Now, maybe a biased question, or maybe it's a question to ask me instead, but I'll ask you being the Facebook guy, do you think Facebook leads are better than direct mail, and why?
Yeah. So this is a great question. And in my opinion, it's kind of skewed the more and more that I've been in the business. And because, for me, it's important to talk to the agents, right? And to really hear what they're experiencing on the phone and compare to direct mail leads. And I still hear a lot of people like the direct mail leads. And they like it for the intent. And when you're doing Facebook, you create friction on Facebook if you choose to. If you choose to go a very easy route, you can generate very cheap leads that are frictionless. So for example, when they're going to a lead form, their name autofills, their birth date autofills, their email address autofills, their phone number autofills. So if that's the only 4 pieces of information you're asking for them, and they just have to click next, compared to a direct mail lead where they have to read it, they have to write the information down, and then they have to go physically mail it. That's something that they do remember. Now, on the flip side, that's just a very singular view. Now, if you can create friction and create automation on the Facebook side, Facebook is extremely powerful because it's very, very fast. But you do have to understand that it's not about, the price of the Facebook lead is more and more what I'm experiencing, because we can get quality leads for very cheap, but they're frictionless. So when we put that friction in there, the more friction we put in there, the more filtered these leads are.
Right. Let me give you my opinion on it, because I think it's worth mentioning. So here's the thing that I think the biggest shortcoming of direct mail. Now, for me personally, agents who start with me, I want them on direct mail. Just historically makes the most sense. Facebook leads make a great secondary alternative, especially if you take the time to learn how to do it, because you can do some things that vendors cannot do. You can customize, you can brand yourself. And I think that's the power of Facebook marketing. If I was doing personal production full-time again, I would put a lot of time in learning this craft of marketing online, because I think the secret really is that instead of using generic leads, you can build your personal brand around, the same concepts of helping people final expense. And I can tell you personally and attest to the power of doing this. I mean, I'm a bit different, but I've been out here creating content since 2014. I have a brand associated with insurance sales training. And when people talk to me, they feel really good about me. They've gotten to know me, like me, trust me before I've even mentioned hi. And that's powerful. And you can achieve that with paid advertising to get traffic in. And like you say, set up a back-end process to begin to develop rapport and a relationship before you pick the phone up. And that's something that no one in final expense is doing. It's everybody's buying leads. Everybody's using generic stuff, which is fine and it works. But there's, I think, an opportunity for the person that takes it a couple of steps beyond that and turns it into, something more than just a basic ad and more of a brand approach. So for me, that's the big potential with something like this, is to create something like that. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you hit an awesome point. Like a really, really cool point inside of that is when you talk about, people being generic with this stuff. It's if you want to be vanilla ice cream and vanilla ice cream's easy and you put out vanilla ice cream to everybody, you'll get vanilla results. And it's when you really can use this automation form to make things more personalized, and you take the extra step to make that connection with a person and know a little bit about them. Like those little things, yes, they're time consuming, but in the end, the conversions, as you know more than anybody, when you take that extra step to talk to a person or get to know them a little bit better, or whatever that extra step is, that makes the difference between the people that are doing, under six figures and then the guys that are killing it. That's one of the big things.
So let's walk through, if you don't mind, give my audience, there's probably people watching this that have never done Facebook marketing of any kind.
Yeah.
Don't know the basics of it. Can you walk us through just the basic tenets, like the foundational stuff with Facebook marketing for insurance leads?
Yeah. So the big thing is obviously, figuring out if you're face-to-face or if you're a telesales agent. That's one of the big things, is to understand your area. The big disadvantage that face-to-face agents have when it comes to getting leads on Facebook is you guys have your 25 to 50 mile radius, and that's it. Right. And the Facebook market can be competitive in areas, and people mix competitiveness with thinking that it's other insurance agents. It could be Disney World, or it could be someone, targeting for golf or vacation home, or anyone who's trying to reach your audience, the 55 and older, 50 and older people that is filling their newsfeed, and you are competing against them. So some areas are highly competitive and lead costs can get higher. But again, when you can control the quality, it's great. But telesales agents, you have a very, very powerful opportunity to move that around and find the best plates that not only converts cheap leads, but also converts people. Because that's the other part of it, is who cares if it's a $2 lead, are they converting? Right. So you can look at both of those metrics. But so that would be the first location, and then your bid strategy is what they call it, and how you are fitting into that market. Because obviously Facebook is a platform, and you are bidding to get your ad in front of people. And we could talk all day about this. I think it'd probably be easier if they just go to our channel and check out some of the videos we have on bid strategy. But the really important part for them is to think about the creative of the advertisement, which I think is extremely important, to know your ad copy, your picture, and your headline, and your button. All of these have to be congruent with your page, and that congruency, again, goes from the page to the advertisement to your phone call. This person is led through, so there's nothing in their brain that is like, hey, something doesn't quite mesh here. And for me, with the advertisements, I always like to be pretty transparent on them. Obviously, you have to be tactical with your words, but we always let them know that it is final expense. We always let them know that it costs money, and we let them know an agent's going to be contacting them. Those are the big things that I'm looking for in my ad copy. And there's a great place, actually, a little trick for you guys that are just starting off. You can go to, it's called facebook.com/ads/library. And you can actually search any page and find their ads, or Google. Just literally go to Google and type in final expense mailer, and you're just going to come up with hundreds of really good ad copy. Right. That's right there waiting for you. Obviously, tweak it to make it make sense and make it clear. But yeah, those are really the big things, is being open and transparent with what you're doing, while being congruent for the entire process. Is what I found really important.
So two-pronged question here. How long does it take to learn this stuff to be competent? Mm-hmm. And as somebody who is not on Facebook all the time, maybe kind of not with it technologically, like how realistic is it for the average person to learn this whole thing? Because they may have heard everything you're saying. They're hearing bid, right? They're hearing ad copy, image, button. And it's probably causing some people to go into a state of shock.
A little anxiety, yeah.
Yeah. So explain to us realistically, how long does it take to learn the stuff and to get good?
Yeah, so there's kind of two components to this. One that's really nice, because the Facebook is kind of a template. You fill in these templates, you click certain buttons, and it spits out with the result. So if you can understand what you're trying to do in a decent sense, you can be relatively effective at lead generation. Now, on the flip side, someone who doesn't know what they're doing at all will completely crash and burn their first time if they go into Facebook and they start clicking stuff and trying to run an ad. So it's definitely important to get some background information. Again, our YouTube channel is a great place. There are a bunch of YouTube channels on running Facebook ads, and really any Facebook ad tutorial video is going to be sufficient enough to understand, for you to understand where you need to go with this. And then you just need to practice and test. Those are the big things, like anything. So, I think if an agent realistically put 40 hours in it, in a very concentrated direction, I think that they could be relatively sufficient at lead generating. And then as the process continues, they're only going to get better.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, first of all, it's just like anything in life, right? You actually have to apply yourself.
Yes.
Understand it's not going to be perfect, but you'll get better if you just go through the motions, just like selling insurance, just like anything else. Now, I'll also add to it, you do have the opportunity, I think a pretty good opportunity, to save tremendously on your acquisition costs. Most lead vendors mark up 100%. Some mark up way more than that.
Yep.
And if you're in the position of getting similar quality leads as you would with a vendor, but at half or a third of the cost, the way I look at it is, if my weekly spend is 500 and that gets me 30 leads, but I drop my price by a third, I get 90 for the same price. Is my math about right? 80 to 90. Just think what you can do with that much more leads. Mm-hmm. You can scale your operation. You can see 3 times as many people. And that's a game changer, for a little bit of effort and trying something new out.
Yeah. And what I found is the coolest thing about that is that when you're producing 100 leads as opposed to 50, you don't have to care about the guy that is not going to buy. You don't have to squeeze that lead because you paid $20 for it and you're like trying to get this last guy. Like, if you're pumping out leads at a third of the price, you can throw that guy to the side and go to the guys that, you have an opportunity with. And it's really amazing. It's like really awesome to watch people come into the Facebook world and make that transition in their head, because they're used to paying $20 or $30 or $40 for direct mail or whatever. And they're like, man, I gotta hit this guy for weeks and weeks and weeks because they paid so much money for it. So definitely the opportunity of speed comes into play, and then you see an increase in sales because of the speed, which is, it's definitely a two-win thing.
Everybody I've talked to are top producers. The one thing that they practice is the biggest problem. They have the best problem they have, which is too many people to see. Agents who typically struggle have too few people to see. And again, if you can cut out the middleman and become the lead acquisition source, just having more people makes such a tremendous difference in the business. Totally agree with you.
So what do you think is when you say, you see new agents that come in and they're struggling, what do you think it is in their mind shift that doesn't allow them to make that realization that, hey, if I just do what these other guys are doing or get more leads, what do you think is blocking that kind of pathway there?
I think it's all character. I think it comes down to faith. It comes down to self-belief, self-doubt, fear. It's hard to put your finger on it. It's some kind of combination of everything. Mm-hmm. New agents, the funny thing is, I've got a guy right now who in June he's within a year of his business, being in business and final expense. He's 22, just turned 22. He wrote 50,000 plus in final expense business. And he works like a crazy person.
Yep.
But he's got the right mindset, but he also has faith. He has faith in himself. And he took the plunge. He didn't do it right away. He started with 10 leads, like a lot of guys do. Mm-hmm. But he progressively built himself up to become more and more confident and take a chance on himself. And he applied everything I did. Mm-hmm. It's easy when you're experienced looking from that perspective to say, okay, just do this and this and this. But we forget, in a sense, what it's like to be new, where we have to take these risks, because there's no guarantees. You could do it and still fail.
Right.
So for me, it's mindset. I wish I could give new agents my whole slate of experience, but it's their job to go through the journey themselves. Mm-hmm. It's their jobs to really test their own character. And it's good that they have to. Right. But that for me is the big thing, is certainly price. Price is kind of it's a surface level issue, but deep down do I think I could do this? Yeah. Do I really think I can do this? because you can show all sorts of examples as I've done in my interviews and talking about my producers, others, and there's plenty of evidence there's success in this business, but you got to pull the trigger. You got to make that leap of faith. So to me, I think it's more of that thing than really anything else.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. It's good. Like you said, you have to go through the process to learn the process, like you could tell people that, but until they actually experience it, that's when they really, learn and understand. So
there's no easy way, it's just like you have to run some Facebook campaigns, I'd imagine, and lose money. You have to try different ideas and possibly lose. Yep. I wouldn't want to bet the whole farm on one ad that's untested. Right. But there's a process of building up by intelligently trying new things and experimenting and being open-minded, just like there is in selling. And, it's good that we have to go through this because it makes us better people, makes us better salespeople. It makes us, there's no other way. If you miss out on something if you don't experience adversity. Yeah. So to me, you should embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with us too, that's what it is if you're taking this risk on this other thing, you should also, if you have something steady on the back end that's working enough, keep that flowing, and that's what we do for our tests, because I'm running tests all the time and I have tests that fail. And I've been doing this a long time and I do this all day long. But what I do is I keep my good stuff rolling and I test it against new stuff so that at the end of the day, everything is fine and everything will go. So if you have direct mail leads you're using that are good, that are working enough for you, but you want to take the step, keep some of those coming in or those coming in until you figure this process out and then make that transition. Don't cold turkey your leads and then say, okay, I've never done a Facebook ad or YouTube ad or whatever it is. And I'm in now because that probably won't be very good.
Take your time. That's the thing. You got to get and that's effectively what you would do. Like you said, if all you were doing is Facebook, you get a few winners and you let the winners ride and you cut short the losers. And you always have to be playing with different variables in order to figure out what the new winners are. Because the winners eventually peter out too.
Yes. Yeah. That process never ends.
Yeah.
That's like personal development. That's anything, anything that you do is just a constant process.
It's continuous.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the biggest problems with Facebook leads. Yeah. Now that we've talked about some of the upsides, I discussed this prior. The biggest thing I have seen agents that are trying this, and I appreciate you letting me ask you this question because I think this is a big objection for anybody that's looking to do this, but is seeing kind of some of the issues people are having, is that people they put up ads and then they get shut down or they don't get anywhere with the ads and they're just having real difficult to just getting off, ground zero. Can you address that and discuss how one would work around that?
Yep. Yeah, no, it definitely is a problem for sure. And I can see it on my side and I guess I'll just take a step back and kind of lay some groundwork to understand why the problem occurred. So
that'd be great.
Obviously a while back when Facebook got in trouble with the government, was in front of Congress, all of that stuff was happening due to privacy issues. Okay. So Facebook is under scrutiny for sharing people's information. Now you have people on Facebook that are doing lead vending. And they are vending leads. They are pulling in leads to their one singular account, and they are dispersing it to thousands or hundreds or thousands of agents. Okay, so now Facebook sees they can track this stuff. Facebook is really freaky, as you guys know with this stuff. Facebook is really freaky on what it can find. So as the leads come in, Facebook is watching them, and then they get sent from this one account to 100 different places. And that is clearly sharing people's information. This is clearly what they got in trouble for. So they took a really hard crackdown on that stuff where they were like, hey, this stuff cannot happen anymore because people are very upset and it's bad. If you opted into something for pizza and they sent your information to 20 different people, you wouldn't be happy either. So Facebook saw that and was like, okay, we have to fix this. So there was a wave about, I want to say it started about 8 months ago and it lasted till about 2 months ago where you didn't have to do anything and they would just shut your account down and it was just gone. There's no explanation. It's just gone. And because they assumed that you were a part of that process. The great news is they've fixed those processes a lot. Now, it's not perfect, but they've fixed those processes a lot. So first things first, you need to go into the terms and conditions section in Facebook and understand your terminology and when you say things. Because, like, for example, if you're trying to target somebody, you can target them and generally speak of them, but you can't say that you know that you're speaking about them. So, for example, I could say, something along the lines of Christians like to go to church on Sunday. But I could not say,
are you a Christian that likes to go to church?
Exactly. I couldn't say, because you're Christian, you should go to church on Sunday. It's literally that small of a tweak in verbiage.
No assumptive phrasing. Yeah.
Exactly. Because they don't want you on the other end, the user on the other end, to be like, how does he know? Like, he knows that I'm Christian. He's targeting me, which we are targeting you, but right. they don't want people to feel like that.
Right.
So that's the good news, is they're getting a lot better at that, and support has been really, really good with the majority of people. And really the biggest thing that I found is finding ad copy that's clean, that's not deceptive, that's not like really harsh in your face. They don't like the user to have a bad experience. You just think about that. And
big thing with Facebook, Google, all social media, it's all user experience, because you start ruining that. Yeah. Then everybody leaves in droves, and they're very particular about that. That's the whole reason this whole thing's happened.
Yep. Yeah. So starting with that, with keeping that clean, and then having a great privacy policy is very important attached to your Facebook. That's super important. And we have one free available on our YouTube channel somewhere. You guys can access that. And then also, making sure who you share your account with. So when you share your account, your business manager account, with a bunch of people, or if a bunch of people are logging in from different locations, right, Facebook says the same thing. It's like, this user's information is getting spread to multiple people. Right. And that's when they shut the account down. So with accounts like me, where I handle people's business accounts all the time, then I'm a trusted account, and right. there's some trust factor on the back end of our stuff. And I don't know what that looks like. Nobody knows what that looks like except very high-end Facebook people. But, all of the actions you take build up a trust factor. So for my account, I could be a lot more lenient with stuff that I do, because I've been running ads, starting on my gym 7 years ago. Right. So they trust me more than a brand new person that comes in, creates a business page, creates a business manager, and then puts $100 a day on an ad. Throws some flags.
So can technically these Facebook vendors sell the information and as a form of leads? I mean,
technically it's against Facebook's terms and conditions, because you cannot share. It gets into a gray area when it's your business, but for technicality's sake, lead vending, you cannot do that.
It's funny. This is just commentary on why you would, to an extent, consider doing this yourself. Mm-hmm. The Cambridge Analytica thing that came out was the impetus to a lot of this stuff. And it was all of a sudden, no, prior notice. And it was obviously had an impact on the user experience and what Facebook wanted to, was accepting of. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. What if something happens where what if you get bad press and it's something related to selling information, and that's all Facebook needs? And what happens, I guess my point is, if you're buying leads from a vendor, something to seriously consider, especially if you like Facebook leads and you buy them and it's a serious source. Yep. What happens one day when they find out and they do shut this down? Because it sounds like they're almost accepting of it until they don't need to. And then, yes, correct. And that's totally how it is. I want to say Facebook's amazing and they love the world and stuff like that, but that's not the case. Obviously they want to do a lot of good, but obviously they're trying to maximize their platform with what the people expect, with what our expectations are for what we do. I think it's been really great, because I think that they have cleaned a ton of those lead vendors off of the market, which is amazing for agents, because now these huge fish, they were in the pond swallowing up thousands of leads a day, have now looked to alternative sources or are going off of Facebook lead generation. They're using landing pages or doing other things, which is amazing, because everyone's saying, oh, don't go on Facebook because they get shut down. Well, actually now is the time actually to get on. Buys more time before more competition comes in. Just like totally. Gary Vee would say. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Last question here. We're talking about the future of what to expect from Facebook. What do you see happening over the next 5 years, and how can agents prepare to make sure an investment in Facebook marketing for themselves is profitable? For now.
I mean, for me, obviously, I'm obviously like super biased on Facebook because I use it all day long. But I think getting into internet marketing in general, whether it's YouTube ads or Google ads or something, I think understanding these platforms is really important, because no matter what happens next, whether it's Facebook 2.0 or whatever it is, it's going to be online, and it's going to replicate this platform in some sense. So I think that obviously that's, if you want to stay relevant, that's definitely there. And I also think these automations, I think that being less vanilla, like we were talking about earlier, being less vanilla and being more personalized to people with automations, and even with your ads. What if you started talking about, if people like basketball and go to Lake whatever, Winnipesaukee, and do these things, like that's really going to appeal to people, and you can really build that trust factor over a very vanilla ad. Now that takes a lot of skill and time, but I think the more that we can move toward that and understand that, and even with calling and stuff like that, I just got I don't know if you've seen it, but AT&T now has like a new spam call blocker application.
Yeah. Right.
So I think that's going to make it super tough. I think it's going to continue to get harder, great for the face-to-face agents, but, for getting on the phone is going to be tougher. So that's where we really need to amp up that personalization to this stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I think I was watching your video and you made the connection that, these companies are all about user experience, and essentially what this robocalling technology has done is made the act of using your phone to call someone or just to answer, just a giant nightmare.
Yes.
And nobody in the government's doing anything, and they've got to take it into their own hands to shut the stuff down.
Yep.
And so and I just go back to your other point. I think that's really important, and I'll hit on this too early on. I remember seeing a video with Gary Vee, and he talks about this a lot, and about, when he was doing Google ads back when the 90s, when he was getting, different wines for cheap.
Yep.
He was learning all this stuff, but then he's taken that knowledge, which applies to other platforms. And sometimes the platforms don't work out, but it's this cumulative knowledge that you get of internet marketing, of advertising, and what makes people think, and the strategies and concepts behind it that are pretty ubiquitous between all of them. And it makes you overall better. So I think that's true. We don't know what's coming down the pike. Facebook is just where the attention is. It could change in 5 to 10 years. It probably will.
Yeah.
But by learning a platform, you're going to be that much prepared to advertise on that new platform, where likely it's cheaper and more accessible, and there's not as much competition, because the big guys don't come in until they're always late arrivers anyway. And when they get in, that's when prices go up. And
And one interesting thing that I'm seeing more and more with agents kind of that I work with is that they're really working really hard toward high filtration, super high filtration. So when they get this person, they are basically just taking orders now. And I haven't done enough with that to speak educatedly about it, but I can tell you guys that people are working very hard toward that, to use automation and use different filters and use a very friction process to get this person out on the other side that's ready to place an order. So I think it's something to consider.
Some of the best and most profitable agents I know are literally order takers.
Yeah.
and it goes against the grain of what we're taught, which is, and you should know how to sell. You should know how to persuade and change people's minds when they object. But there is a level now that, again, you can't get with direct mail, but you can certainly get with internet marketing of any kind, where you can automate some of the qualification process. Do you have a bank account? Can you afford at least this much? What are your health questions? I'm sure these mix of some or the other are used in this friction, so that people that pop out at the end of the funnel are going to be a much higher odds buyer. And
Yep.
as long as you can get your dollars or your average lead cost in line to where
Correct.
you're making a multiple,
yep.
who wouldn't want to just take orders all day?
Right.
I mean, it's a lot less stressful. You deal with people more serious. It's a different experience altogether.
Yeah.
And that's something that technology can help you do a lot easier than just depending on, again, admittedly a higher cost type of market.
Right. Yeah. And I want to say, I guess we're not there, guys. Like, you're not an order taker tomorrow. So keep your sales skills is very important. And it's good to find that balance of quality and filtrated,
Yeah. It's just like we talked about. There's a process to everything. We have to go through our own process of getting to that point. And it usually takes time for people to realize this just through experience and developing the self-confidence, because it's hard to take on a $2,000 a week investment in leads when you don't have experience, and so it's just like all things. You work up to that point.
Yep.
So Jerry, I think that's it for us. Why don't you kind of tell us where my audience can find out more about you and learn more about the programs and services you do? Yeah.
The best places, guys, is to check out our YouTube channel, Ad Assassins. And then we also have a Facebook group that is really, really good. We have a lot of tips in there, a lot of good agents. That's Ad Assassins Insurance Agent Training, something along those lines. You type that in and you're going to see it. Go ahead and join the group. I'll accept you. And it's a great place to interact and ask questions and get started with this stuff. All right, Jerry, thanks so much for being on, and we'll see you next time, right? Thanks, guys.